Okay, with the other two images that we worked with, they're fairly simple, but now we're gonna do something a little bit more difficult, something that's gonna take a little bit more work. Anytime you're doing a difficult selection, you know you got to use a channel technique. Always pay attention to your image and just look at it and stuff like that. The other two images that we worked with prior to this one, there was no transparency whatsoever on any of them. You couldn't see through them, so they had to be solid white. But this light bulb here, um, you can see through it. And when you can see through something, you know you have to have certain types of transparency in your alpha 1 channel. And I'm going to show you how you're going to get that into your alpha 1 as part of your selection. So we're kind of bumping it up a little bit more difficult, but as long as you follow the correct steps, you will be successful in making difficult selections like this. Our goal is to remove the background from the light bulb, around the light bulb, and inside the light bulb. And I will show you how to do that now. So to save some time, what I did is I went ahead and selected the light bulb with the lasso tool. Did all the way around the whole entire light bulb, and then went to select, save selection, and hit OK. Before you deselect, especially a difficult selection like this, check your channels, and here's the black and white representation as an alpha 1 channel of your light bulb. And I'm going to do something a little bit different because we know we have transparency. You're not going to want to deselect until you're 100% completely done. So we know we have our black and white representation here, and we're going to keep that selection up until we are 100% completely done. So in order to remove the background and inside the light bulb, we have to bring transparency in. We have to bring grayscale into our alpha 1 channel here. Right now it's just solid white, and if we keep it solid white, we will not be able to remove that background, and that's what we want to do. So in order to bring in transparency, what we have to do is single-handedly, and this is why I say it's very important to select either the red, the green, or the blue channel by itself, or any channel by clicking on the word, because you want to make sure you are selecting specific channels, because you're either going to be working on that one channel or copying from that one channel, and you don't want to mess up anything else. So you got to be very careful what you click on. You got to click on the words, not the eyeballs. It's going to make things very difficult for you. But when you're working with transparency or channels, you're always trying to find that black to white ratio. When you're looking at the original with the whole entire RGB color up, you're going to notice there's like a black dark shadow of that light bulb kind of going around it right there. When you're wanting things selected with channels, it's got to be very bright or white. And when you don't want things selected, it's got to be like black or like a darker black. So if to bring transparency in, you're looking for that black to white ratio. And if I click on the red channel, you're going to notice there's a lot of bright gray, and there's like a very dark edge right there. You're kind of going off that dark edge right now, and because that's dark right there, you're looking for the brightest background. And if I click on the green, that dark edge kind of got a little bit brighter, and we don't want that. Background didn't change too much, so I guess that really didn't matter between the red and the green, but what did matter was that got dark, or like lighter, where it was darker in the red. We don't want that. And if I click on the blue, that got pretty dark back up here, back on the red. So by clicking on each one separately, you have to determine that black to white ratio. And to me, it's got with the red channel, it's got the darkest edge with the brightest background. That difference in the ratio and stuff like that. All these channels here had a very bright background, but the red channel had the darkest edge right there. So when you determine what channel you want to copy from, you're going to copy from that channel and that channel only. It's either going to be red, green, or blue, finding that black to white ratio. And when you find that channel, you're going to copy from just the red channel, and you're going to paste it into your alpha 1 like that. This is why it's very important to understand what you're clicking on. One false move and the whole thing's ruined. You got to start over. So never deselect until you're 100% completely done. We successfully copied from the red channel and we pasted it into our alpha 1 channel. It's now part of our selection. This is how you bring in transparency. There's a lot of grayscale going on in there. And in order to bring transparency, especially things you can see through, you have to have grayscale brought in. And that's how you do it. But do not deselect because we have a lot of adjusting to do. Since the first image that I told you, anything that is not going to be selected has to be black. Anything that's going to be selected has to be white or very bright. When you're working with transparency, you're not going to have solid white, you're going to have brighter or darker grayscale areas. And if you take a look at the light bulb, which is now a part of our selection in the alpha 1, you're going to notice the background is very bright. We don't want that. We want the background to be as dark as possible. And because we're selecting the light bulb, you want the edges of the light bulb to be very, very bright instead of that dark right there. So in order for us to make sure our colors are correct, we have to swap the colors in the background from that bright gray to a darker gray, and those edges on the black to somewhat black to a white color. And this is why you never deselect until you're 100% completely done, because whatever we're going to do is going to happen within inside that selection. So in order to swap all that, if you hold Command and hit the letter I, it will invert it. And when we invert it, you'll notice that the background got dark, and that's what we want. And the edge of the light bulb got white, and that's what we want because we want the light bulb selected, not the background. So the background's got to be black or darker, and the edges of the light bulb have to be somewhat brighter. So with that done, we're not completely done yet because we can still do a little bit more adjusting. We can make that background a little bit darker, and we can make that edge of the light bulb a little bit brighter, so it helps us with our selection. So what we're going to do is go to Image, Adjustments, and Brightness and Contrast. Move this over. Make sure Preview is checked. Never have used Legacy checked. Just keep Preview checked because you want to see everything happening. But I'll bump up the brightness a little bit to make the edges a little bit brighter. And if I bump up the contrast, it's going to make things darker. So you're going to notice like the background's getting darker. That's what we want. We don't want that selected. We want it somewhat darker. So just by bumping it up a little bit and bumping the contrast up to 100, I was able to make the background darker because we don't want that selected, but the edges of the light bulb got a little bit brighter. That's probably good right there. And then hit OK. When you know you're 100% completely done, then it's safe to deselect and then reselect. So by deselecting, my adjustments are done. I inverted it. I made things brighter and darker. Anytime you are 100% completely done, you're going to want to deselect and then reselect. And when you reselect by command clicking on alpha 1, you're going to get this weird funky selection going on. That's what you're looking for. The reason why it's doing that is because it's reading the transparency. And because you can see through the light bulb, there's definitely going to be transparency effects. And when you have that selection, you should be good to go. So with that selection, by deselecting and reselecting, I'm going to click on RGB to bring up the color. We're not copying this, the grayscale of alpha 1. We want the full color of the light bulb. So when you're done with everything here, click on RGB, make sure you're on your layers, and then copy and paste. And we were successfully able to remove the background from the light bulb. As long as you follow all those steps, you should be okay. The one thing that you'll notice is that it kind of took away some of the gray area, the silver in the bottom part of the light bulb. If I delete that layer and I go back to my channels, all I would have to do is make sure this is all solid white. So before I deselected, I would keep my selection up and just take my brush tool with solid white and paint that solid white right there, removing all that grayscale. so that this is solid white and the only grayscale area is the transparency area. But no big deal. I just wanted to show you how the transparency worked.